So I'm at our facility and I'm getting some treats ready in the form of cheese for a dog that I'm training. And so, anyway, I'm very grateful to the God of cheese because cheese works really well. I call the God of cheese Jesus. So, this is how we do it. Everybody, I hope you are well. Listen, coming to you today from a different ride, obviously, flossing a different whip. So here's the deal. Over the next couple weeks, I'm going to be doing some work with dogs that I've got to take them off site. I'm going to be out and about in the world with them, board and train dogs, and so this car is just more conducive to transporting those creatures. So anyway, listen, had somebody comment on a post I put up about a week ago. He wanted to get my take on dealing with difficult people. I think it's a really interesting subject, so I wanted to tackle it a little bit here. I'm going to speak to it in a general sense because his question wasn't particularly specific. I don't have details on the context and what exactly he is alluding to. So again, I'm going to hit this at a really high level. Hope it helps. You're going to have to adapt it for your particular situation. But the first thing that comes to mind, when somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, how do I deal with this, a difficult person? I always investigate that a little bit because, listen, if you're a person who thinks, God, I'm just surrounded by idiots like all the time and there's just a lot of difficult people you feel in your life, you're surrounded by them, I must be honest and tell you that you are the problem. There's no way that everybody around you is difficult to deal with unless you're the one that's difficult to deal with. And that's one of the ways you identify, and that I would, my criteria for a difficult person is it's not somebody that I just have a problem with. It's that they're, everybody in their sphere, whether that's at work, has challenges with them also. There's just a lot of friction, contention when trying to communicate. And if that is the case, I think the first and biggest key, because this will clear up 95+% of the difficult people that you have to engage and interact with, is cultivate the skill and the quality of being a phenomenal listener. Let me tell you what listening isn't. Listening isn't being silent while the other person is talking. That is called being a polite adult, and that is different. All right? Being a good listener is, number one, caring, having empathy, and really putting in the work of listening begins with understanding where the other person's coming from and not seeing that through all your filters. And so what I mean is they have a different worldview, they have a different set of values, a different sort of hierarchy of need structures and all of that. And so if you're really trying to create communication with somebody, you have to understand what resonates with them, and you have to get in their head and again understand how they conceptualize what's going on around them. And once you have that in place, it's just those people are going to feel like you finally hear them, because a lot of people are really dismissive of the difficult to deal with people, and there's a tremendous amount of judgment, which, by the way, that will absolutely shut things down immediately. Once you get into being judgmental, it's game over. You're not going to be able to get through to these folks. And so you suspend judgment, you put yourself in their shoes, you listen as intently as you can, working to create understanding in your own mind of why they're behaving the way that they behave, or talking to you the way they talk to you, or why they're being, why they're so difficult to budge on a particular issue, whatever your situation is. And, I've had employees over the years lots of times come to me and tell me that, this client's being difficult, I can't get through to them, and, all the kind of stuff you hear. And I hop on the phone with them, 10-15 minute phone call, discovering this person's not difficult to deal with at all. They just don't feel understood, heard, and cared for properly. And so once you get those things in place, I'm telling you, people become much easier to deal with because they feel respected and you feel that you are on equal footing with them, and then you can pitch and catch with them. The only people you really can't are the people that are difficult because it's a sport for them. And so, like, that's just a damage control situation. If somebody enjoys conflict for the sake of conflict and they just kind of like to get into it and it's like a sparring thing for them, I would just distance yourself from that to the extent possible. If you work with somebody, obviously there's less options there, but you can limit exposure. Don't frustrate yourself trying to change them. It's like a lot of times they're just kind of trolling you to get you upset. And so if you can keep that in mind, just, keep your distance and limit exposure as much as you can if it's a really toxic situation like that. But for the rest of the difficult people in your life, I would say really like empathy, caring, understanding how they think, and listening with intent, and that is going to fix a lot of things for you. So I hope that helps. So I'm at our facility and I'm getting some treats ready in the form of cheese for a dog that I'm training. And so anyway, I'm very grateful to the God of cheese because cheese works really well. I call the God of cheese Jesus. So this is how we do it. So just did a dog training session here with my friend Emma. Little Emma, say hi. Hello. Emma. She's lovely. She's a beautiful creature. So we had a great training session, just walking around Main Street, kind of checking things out, working on some leash walking skills, and everything went pretty smooth, with the exception of the fact that she was terrified by the giant grizzly bear statue. That was a little bit of a sticking point for her. Also, the fake pig outside of Mike O'Shea's on the sidewalk, that threw her for a loop. she thought that it was an axe murderer pig. She's like, you're way too still to be friendly. So it took us a little while to check that out and make sure everything was okay. But that's what we're up to today. Okay, say bye, Emma. Emma. She's sleepy. She did a lot of mental work, so we'll be signing out. Hey guys, so there's a really simple test for understanding exactly how successful that you're going to be in any chosen endeavor, and that is how you respond and what you do when you don't feel like doing it. And if you have a new project you're working on, a new business, if you've got something you're trying to accomplish in your health and your well-being and your relationships, it's the moments when you don't feel like doing it. What you do after that is going to tell you everything you need to know. I mean, there's no sugarcoating that. Like this morning, I didn't feel like going running, but the key is what I did after that. And I have something compelling that I'm looking forward to, that I'm working toward, and it's not an actual question. I mean, in the moment, you might feel like, gosh, I really don't want to do this thing. But at the end of the day, you truly have to make a decision, and this decision comes up time after time after time. It's not a one-time thing, right? Like every day we might be tempted to kind of take things a little bit easy. You're tired in the middle of the workday, so gosh, do I really want to grind this out? And you can let yourself off the hook, and that's a choice. You could also choose to kind of dig in and do whatever it takes to ignite something inside of you to take the right action that you really need to take. And so but if you go off your emotions at that time or your feelings, you are screwed. There's no way around it. And so that's the choice. The next time you're in a situation where you have to make a decision about, do I press ahead and do what I know I need to do, or am I going to let my feelings dictate my actions? That's going to tell you where you're going to end up. And so I'd really encourage you to be one of the few people who knows how to stay consistent and stay steady despite what they're feeling and what's maybe going on around them, and just put your head down and go, because those people are going to absolutely own the future. Okay, so I can't really make fun of this one because there's something to that. Prosperity is within us.
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint the skies, only you. So alive.
All right, so just got done swimming. I don't have practice with the team today, so just came in by myself and got in a good swim. My left shoulder's been giving me fits here and there, so I've had to kind of dial back some of the movements that I'm doing and kind of switch things up. Instead of working on my pull so much, I've had to go to more of just like really long kick sets. And I think that's a huge key, because that can apply in so many areas of life. I've found it very prevalent point of view that if I can't do it all, if I can't do it 100%, I'm not going to do it. And I don't think that's the wisest way to go. It's a convenient excuse for not doing anything, but just because I can't work on my pull doesn't mean I can't work on my kick. And if I couldn't work on my kick because something was going on there, I could work on my pull. There's always some aspect of your stroke that you could work on. If you're swimming, if you're running and you mess something up in your lower body, maybe you go and do some swimming instead, and you can still lift some weights, work your upper body, whatever the case may be. If you are your energy is just down more so than normal, and you may not be able to do some of the same stuff in business and keep the same pace temporarily, or you're feeling under the weather, what does that give you the opportunity to do instead? And so I just encourage you, every time something is not available to you, or you have to back off, it opens up a lot of other opportunities. And so I'd really, really encourage you, make sure you're working on whatever you can work on to get better, to keep pressing forward, to keep progressing, to keep moving to the next level. And if you get slowed down, don't stop. Right? Movement is the key. Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. Even if you can't move as fast as you once did, keep moving so that you, again, have that momentum. So when you are back up to speed and you're feeling healthy and strong and your energy is where it needs to be, you can hit the ground running, and you can catch right back up to where you were, or potentially pass it, because you've been working on stuff that you traditionally haven't because you've been forced into it. Sometimes that's exactly what you would need to really move to the next level. If you've seen Cinderella Man, this is the type of thing that happens to Russell Crowe's character, Jim Braddock. And if you haven't seen the movie, I'd encourage you to. But it's something he had relied on, which I think it was like his right hook or something. That's what he had relied on his boxing career. And when he broke his hand, he didn't have that available, so he had to go down and work on the docks. And so he's like schlepping around these huge bags of grain every day. And what it did is it gave a lot of strength to, I think it was like his left hand. And so he came really, really good with his jab. And when he came back to professional boxing, that's what really put him over the top. So hope that is something you can keep in mind and that helps you as you're going through your week.
Make it last forever. Stop in time. Yeah, I'm surrendering. Hold tight, chemicals collide. Hold tight, hold tight. Dripping lights paint the skies, all because of you. Dripping lights paint the skies, only you.
Hey everybody, it is Saturday morning. Just got done with the workout and gonna head out, grab some food, go back home and get some work done. But I had been thinking about a topic. It's just been coming to mind a lot recently, and many of us wind up in situations where we feel like, oh my gosh, this again, and it's like a reiteration of something we've already been through a number of times, and I typically the type of talk that accompanies that is like, why me? Why is this happening to me again? And I believe that things happen over and over again, and we're talking about obviously things that are particularly unpleasant and situations that you don't really enjoy being a part of, because there's something that in that situation to learn that has not been learned yet. And so if you're finding yourself in a situation, instead of just trying to get out of it and get past it so you can be like, oh, I'm glad that's over, listen, recognize if you just escape the situation, it's going to come back around in some way, shape, or form. And the way to truly get past something is to learn whatever it is that you need to learn from that situation so that you can move beyond it. And then when you move beyond it, you're going to have another problem or set of problems to tidy up. And it's not about not having problems, it's about upgrading your problems and recognizing if you're encountering the same ones that you were a year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there's something in that situation the next time it pops up that if you will figure out the blessing or the opportunity for learning that you have within that situation, you can move past it and you're going to skyrocket in your productivity, in your freedom. It's going to be a weight lifted off you and you're going to master an area of life. So I just encourage you to maybe look at that a little bit different than you maybe have in the past.